Hello, fellow readers and booktubers. I've got a new tag for you. I'm calling this one the Superstitious Reader tag. And it's only got one prompt, and the prompt is this. Do you have a superstition that somehow impacts the way you read a book, or maybe has some influence on the way you choose which books you read? Now, by superstition, I mean anything, a belief or an action that you will take that is unnecessary because it has no grounding in reality, but somehow you feel like you must do this for whatever reason. Now, I want to quickly add a little footnote to this. I'm not talking about OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder is a serious thing, and it really disrupts people's lives in very challenging ways, and it's something to be taken very seriously. I want to keep this one kind of light. Nothing that serious, but still it's something that does creep in every now and then. So a couple things here. First of all, it's been my experience, and generally speaking, that people who read a lot, voracious readers, and especially people who read a lot and read widely, in other words, they read genre, they read across the categories of genre. They read mysteries and science fiction and adventure stories and westerns and all that. And also they read nonfiction, again, across genre lines. They'll read histories and philosophies and poetries and things like this. Usually people who read a lot like that, and I'm one of them, and I'm sure many of you are too, we're usually less prone to believe in conspiracies. We like to think of ourselves as more reasonable people. We use our critical thinking skills more. And so we're not necessarily given over to superstition. At the same time, we're all human, and there's sometimes a little kink in the armor that'll allow some goofy thought to creep in from time to time. So in putting up this prompt, I know that for some of you it might be a little embarrassing to admit you've got some silly superstition that does influence the way you read. So to make this easier for everybody, I'll go first. And I do have a superstition, and it's not real strong, especially as I've gotten older. It's faded quite a bit. But when I was younger, there was a moment there when this is something that it wouldn't destroy my life. It wouldn't cause me to take any radical action. But being afflicted with this thing, and it's a very common superstition. In fact, it's got a name. It's got a fancy name: triskaidekaphobia, fear of the number 13, or avoidance of the number 13. Now, like I say, it wasn't something that disrupted my life. But if I were, say, for example, taking a trip somewhere, and I noticed that the number 13 was part of the flight number. Or if I was at the airport waiting to board the plane and I added up all the numbers and the flight number and they added up to 13, I would never cancel the flight. I would still get on the flight and everything else, but I might dust off the old Catholic prayer book and say a quick prayer to St. Christopher, the patron saint of travelers. But I would always go through with the flight. So it was never this superstition of mine of the number 13. It was never something that disrupted my life. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how I got stuck with this, how this got stuck in my head. And I do take some comfort in knowing I'm not the only one. There's a lot of us out there. But as far as my reading habits would go, what this meant was if I had just started reading a book and I got up to page 13, and for some reason I had to step away for a few minutes, before I put that book down, I would read on to page 14. I would never put a book down just up to page 13. Or if I read up to, say, page 113, I wouldn't put the book down until I at least read up to page 114. For page 213, I would go to 214 before I put the book down. If I was up to page 130, for example, because there's that 1-3 in there, I would not put the book down until I got to page 140. I would read the next 10 pages in. If I read a book, if I read up to, say, chapter 13, I would not put the book down until I read chapter 14. Now, some books only have 13 chapters, so that was a bit problematic for me. But again, it wasn't one of those things that would keep me up late at night. But it did impact the way I read a book. For years and years, I've kept a journal of the books that I read. Every time I would read a book, I'd write down the title of the book and the author. That's about all there was to it. Early in the year, if I had read up 13 books, I would very quickly choose the 14th book, and I would choose a book that was kind of short, something that I could read quickly so I could get past the 13. Now, this superstition has faded quite a bit lately, but it still creeps up every now and then. I still kind of check, where did I leave off in reading this book? Did I leave off at the 13th page or the 213th page or anything like that? But it's still there. It's kind of weird, I know. I take some comfort in knowing I'm not alone in this, as I've said. It's a very common superstition. But now that I've bared my soul to you, I challenge the rest of you to step forward. Even if you share the same superstition, it'd be kind of interesting to see what you have to say in the comment section, or if you just want to put up your own video on this. But this is the Superstitious Reader, and I think we all have some weird little thing that influences the way we read, and we can't really explain why it's there. It's just kind of there. It got stuck in our heads at some point. So that's all I have got for you today. Have fun with this one. Keep reading and stay strong.